Huger and darker yet grew Ungoliant, but her lust was unsated. The Silmarillion, Chapter 9 of the Plight of the Noldor. When Morgoth fell, his defeat left more than just ruin in its wake. Ungoliant, the great spider whose hunger knew no limits, disappeared into the darkness. Once, even Morgoth himself had feared her, but after his downfall, her fate became shrouded in myth. Her vile brood spread across the land, yet she herself seemed to vanish, leaving only questions behind. Did she meet her end, consumed by her own greed? Or had she retreated into the blackest corners of the world, lurking where no one would dare to follow? Though her body was unseen, her presence lingered as if waiting to strike again. Join us as we explore what may have happened to Ungoliant and uncover how the very thing that made her so fearsome may have ultimately brought about her own end. Ungoliant's origins are lost in shadow. Even the Eldar, who saw many things, knew very little of her, save that she came from the void beyond the world. A creature of hunger and hatred, she loathed the light and craved its destruction. Dwelling in secret webs spun within forgotten ravines, she was a lurking terror, a dark mystical force beyond understanding. It was Morgoth, the first Dark Lord, who sought her aid in his quest to destroy everything good and beautiful. He promised her unfathomable rewards, drawing her out of hiding with whispers of vengeance against the powers of the world. Together, they struck at the very heart of the Blessed Realm where the two trees stood, the source of all light and Arda. In a single moment of betrayal, Morgoth wielded his strength and Ungoliant unleashed her devouring hunger. She drank in the light of the two trees, sucking them dry until only darkness remained. And yet, her hunger was not sated. She consumed the wells of Varda's dew, swallowing the very essence of the light of Varda's stars, and growing vast and terrible with each devoured drop. But her greed knew no bounds. After they fled from Valinor with the stolen Silmarils, her demands for more grew louder. When Morgoth refused her, a struggle began, one so fierce that even Morgoth himself was terrified. She tried to strangle him, enveloping him in the shadow that she had created, but he called upon his Balrogs from Angband. Their fiery whips tore through the black webs, forcing Ungoliant to flee into the deepest, darkest corners of Middle-earth. From that day onward, she vanished into obscurity, and her fate became a mystery. But her hunger remained an ever-present shadow, one that would plague the lands for ages to come. The most unsettling account of Ungoliant's fate, darkened by her own insatiable greed, suggests that in the end, she consumed herself, a fitting end for the creature whose hunger knew no bounds. After her veiled attempt to overpower Morgoth and claim the Silmarils, Ungoliant fled into the wilds, driven by a terror as fierce as her own ravenous nature. Her flight took her southward from Lamoth, a wasteland echoing with her retreat, into the shadowed lands of Beleriand. But even here she found no rest. Shrouded in darkness so thick it suffocated the very air, Ungoliant sought to enter the forest of Neldareth, the heart of Thingol's kingdom. Yet, at the border, the powerful of Malayan the Maya, her magic woven deep into the land, repelled the great spider, turning her away. Furious and thwarted, Ungoliant slithered further south, making her home in the mountains beyond Dorthonion. These dark peaks would come to be known as the Arid Gorgoroth, the Mountains of Terror, where even the bravest of elves dared not tread. It was here, among the desolate heights, that Ungoliant encountered others of her kind, foul creatures of spider form that had dwelled there since Angband's earliest days. With them, she mated, multiplying her twisted brood, spreading terror throughout the region. Her offspring would infest the world long after her disappearance, most famously Shelob, the dread spider who would one day plague the path of the Ringbearer. But Ungoliant's hunger was insatiable even toward her own kin. In her growing madness, she devoured the very creatures she had mated with, feeding on her own brood to stave off the eternal void gnawing within her. No darkness was deep enough, no flesh satisfying enough to calm her lust for consumption. As the First Age drew to a close, and the sun first rose in the sky, Ungoliant fled further south, into lands forgotten by all. She vanished into the black abyss where no living thing could follow. In the forsaken reaches of the world, her hunger overtook her, leaving her to feed on her own body in a grotesque act of self-consumption. Tolkien himself gives little detail on her end, stating only that she ended long ago, but the implications are clear. Ungoliant, in her boundless hunger, turned upon herself, becoming her own final victim. This monstrous act of self-destruction was a fitting fate for one so consumed by greed and darkness. Though her terror faded from the known world, her offspring would continue to haunt the shadows, reminders of the insatiable force that she embodied. Yet, while this theory remains the most widely accepted, whispers of other possible fates endure. Some say she still lurks in the forgotten southern lands, while others believe she returned to the void from which she came, awaiting the world's final unraveling. While many believe Ungoliant consumed herself in her endless hunger, another theory whispers of a far more terrifying possibility, that she still lurks in the forgotten lands of the distant south, where even the light of the sun barely touches, abounded. Tolkien leaves her fate ambiguous, and some say she never truly died, but instead fled to the deepest, darkest corners of the world where no one dares to follow. After her retreat from Beleriand, having been repelled by the magic of Melian and Neldareth, Ungoliant disappeared into the shadowy south, into lands forgotten by elves and men. The Silmarillion tells us that she escaped shortly before the rising of the sun, vanishing into regions so remote they remain uncharted. These forsaken realms, beyond the sight of Morgoth's gaze, may have become her refuge, a place where she could hide in the endless dark, far from any threat to her existence. In the Mountains of Terror, she'd already devoured her own kind, foul creatures of spider form that had crawled through the earth since the first delving of Angband. Ungoliant bred with these creatures before turning on them, but even after she left those cursed peaks, her spawn remained, infesting Middle-earth. Among them was Shelob, the greatest of her descendants, who would hunt and terrorize the paths of the Free Peoples. Shelob's continued existence hints that Ungoliant's dark power might never truly have faded. Some believe that Ungoliant still dwells somewhere in the Forgotten South, hidden in webs of unlight, spinning her black threads in a realm that no one has ever returned from. Her ability to cloak herself in pure darkness, so thick that not even the Silmarils could pierce it, means she could have easily created a lair so hidden, so deep in the earth, that her existence became nothing but a myth. There she may lie in wait, her hunger festering, an unspeakable force ready to emerge once more when the world grows weak. There's no confirmed record of her death, and Tolkien's silence on her ultimate fate leaves a lingering unease. Some whisper that Ungoliant still hides in the distant south, her hunger unquenched, her shadows stretching ever outward. Yet this is not the only possibility. Another even more disturbing theory suggests that she may have returned to the very void from which she came, waiting for the world to unravel. The final and most haunting theory whispers that Ungoliant never truly perished. Instead, she may have returned to the place from which she first crawled, the void, that boundless darkness beyond the edges of the world. If true, this theory paints a far more terrifying picture than her destruction. For Ungoliant, some believe, was not just a mindless beast, but a fallen Maya, one of the lesser Ainur, who, like the Balrogs, was twisted by her own lust for power and hunger for light. In the Silmarillion, it is said that Ungoliant descended from the darkness that lies about Arda. Those words, filled with foreboding, suggest a being who was not of the world, but of the blackness beyond it. If she was indeed a Maya, one of the Ainur who existed before the shaping of the world, then her story is far older and far darker than we dare imagine. She was not bound to the earth or its fate, and when the light of the two trees was drained, when no more treasures of Middle-earth could feed her hunger, she might have fled from this world entirely, slipping back into the void from which she came. This theory suggests that in her final act, Ungoliant abandoned the lands of light and shadow, retreating into that formless nothingness that lies beyond the stars, where even Morgoth could not follow. If Ungoliant returned to the void, and she may still be there, waiting in the black abyss, her hunger growing stronger in the endless dark. The void is a place without time, without life, without hope. There Ungoliant could stretch her endless hunger, lurking in the silence, biding her time for an age when the world is once again vulnerable to her insatiable need. Like Morgoth, who was cast into the void after his defeat, Ungoliant may have found refuge in that same eternal darkness. This possibility is more terrifying than any destruction. If Ungoliant did return to the void, she may not be gone, she may never have been defeated at all. In that timeless, empty expanse, her ravenous hunger festers, growing in the endless black. The thought that she could one day descend again from the outer darkness, more powerful and more desperate to feed than ever before, is a nightmare that few dare to speak aloud. For if she was Maya, her return would mean the reawakening of a terror that even Morgoth feared. Unlike the other theories, this one suggests Ungoliant is still out there, beyond the reach of light, beyond the reach of time, waiting. And when the world weakens, she may strike again, her hunger unquenched, her shadow ready to devour all that stands before her. Ungoliant's fate remains one of the darkest mysteries in Tolkien's legendarium. Whether she consumed herself in madness, hides in the distant shadows of the south, or lurks in the void, her legacy of terror is undeniable. Her hunger shaped the very course of Middle-earth, and the question of her return lingers like a shadow over the world. What do you think of Ungoliant? Was she truly defeated, or does she still wait, ready to strike again? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell for more journeys into Tolkien's deepest lore. Until next time, travelers.